Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special Iron Viz 2023 live event. Today, we are announcing the winners of the qualifier competition and revealing the finalists who will be competing live at Tableau Conference next year for Iron Viz Glory. My name is Mark Bradbourne, and today I'm standing in for Andy Cockreeve. Obviously, this is normally his gig, so consider me your stunt Andy. When I'm not being stunt Andy, I am a national solutions engineer for Tableau in the FinServes vertical, and I'm fairly active in the community. And I'm joined with a very familiar face in the Iron Viz world, Archana Ganeshalingam. Archana.
Thanks a lot, Mark. And you're doing a great job already as stunt Andy. You just need the sparkly jacket, but we'll get one for you next year. Or quick change. But yeah, I'm thrilled to be back presenting Iron Viz again. It's a staple, of course, of the Tableau Conference schedule. Day to day, though, I'm a program manager for the solution engineering team in EMEA, helping arguably the best team at Tableau scale their work and help even more customers see and understand their data. And we can see Mark's in his jazzy outfit now.
This is the best I could do. I do not have Andy's fashion sense, unfortunately. So this year, I was gonna say, maybe I can get something for Christmas. But this year, our topic was games. And that means anything game related, from tabletop to video games, to sports, to esports, to bar sports, game shows, traditional games, party games. Think of it as any structured form of play that involves a set of rules, challenges, or interactions. The entries were incredible. 209 entries from around the globe. Over 70% were first timers. So thank you all for putting yourselves out there, and congratulations for getting into the feeder. Archana, can you tell us about the prizes this year and how we're going to do this announcement?
Sure thing. Our top 15 qualifiers will, of course, earn the glory and pride of being an Iron Viz finalist, and all of them will be receiving some Tableau swag. As for the top three, they'll be battling out live at Tableau Conference for a total of $10,000 in cash prize, as well as another $5,000 to donate to a nonprofit of their choice. Now, today we'll be announcing all 15 qualifier winners. There will be 5 from each region, so APAC, EMEA, and the Americas. And first, we'll start with 12 honorable mentions from each of the regions, and then we'll go through the 3 finalists who received the top score for their region in a little bit more detail.
Sounds great to me. So, Archana, we're going to get going on this immediately. But one last thing before we do, let's talk about how all this was judged.
Yes, so just like Iron Viz at conference, each entry is judged across 3 criteria: analysis, design, and storytelling. Thank you to all our community judges who went through hundreds of entries to get to our top 15. And you might see 2 other faces on the call today. We have 2 of the judges joining us today to share their experiences. We're looking forward to chatting to Adam Mico and Alice McKnight in just a little bit. But without further ado, let's get to some Vizes. Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it. Here we go, starting with the APAC region.
So in 5th place, representing APAC, is Louis Yu with It Was Never About the Dragons. Louis' Viz shares his passion for the game Dragon Age. And I'll admit I'm not familiar with this game, but Louis does a great job of giving context to newbies like me through great use of text, with captions and tooltips paired with really simple and clear visualizations that anyone can interpret regardless of your knowledge level with the game.
In 4th place in the APAC region, we have The Science of Winning by Varun Jain. Now, Varun's Viz on chess is a fascinating look at the art or science of winning, depending how you look at it. Breaking it down across the pieces, players, tactics, and strategies make this a great left to right scrolling Viz that walks through chess from the very basic up into the most advanced opening moves and the probability of wins. Love the color choices here, and the analysis is superb.
Next up, in 3rd place for APAC, is Dara Murray with The Blazing of the Trail. Dara's Viz is a visual essay into the history of women's Aussie rules football. I love the sparing but impactful use of color in this Viz as it gives the dashboard a really clean look. It's gorgeous.
In second place in APAC is the entry from Phyllis Tay, Mobile Legends Bang Bang. Now, I wasn't familiar with this game, but after checking this Viz out, I feel like I've got a leg up, especially on the competition when I start playing. So I love the layout here. This theme gives me a very 80s arcade vibe, but that's probably due to my advanced age. Really effective use of radar chart here, highlighting the character's strengths and weaknesses and the ability to see what characters are more and less effective than others. It really helps from a storytelling perspective as the viewer can do some exploration on their own based on the analysis. Great job.
Congratulations to all our qualifiers from APAC. You did great. We'll be announcing the top entry from the region at the end of today's event, so don't go anywhere. But before we move on to the Americas, let's take a look at a little bit more at the judging process and behind the scenes with one of our community judges, Adam Mico. Please welcome Adam. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Archana. How you doing?
Good. I'm excited. How about you?
Same.
So this was your third time, I believe, judging the qualifier round. Is there anything different that you saw about this year's entries compared to the last 2 years?
100%. General quality of the visualizations, the first glance test, you look at a visualization and it's like, wow, you could see something really cool and impactful right away. Compared to prior years, the first glance test wasn't so great with some of the visualizations, but such a high percentage of visualizations this year really passed it, and it made it a lot harder to judge.
Yeah, I can imagine. Even just me looking through the top 15 and having to write these comments was really tough. So now we've just gone through the APAC entries, and obviously you're based in the US. Have you learned anything from judging from different regions? So with APAC, we saw things like Dragon Age, which is a Japanese game, and then Aussie rules football. Outside of obviously Viz best practices and new ways to use Tableau, is there anything you actually learned about the games themselves that you'll take away?
Yeah, I learned more than I ever thought I would want to learn about cricket. There's a lot of visualizations from the APAC region about cricket. So it's very fun to see that, look at the rules, be very confused by those rules. And someday I'll want to see a proper game when I go overseas again.
That's funny. That's incredible. You might have a better understanding than most people who actually do watch cricket now that you've seen all the data and the stats behind it.
Not.
So judging as it is every year is based on the same 3 criteria: analysis, design, and storytelling. Is there a criteria that you most enjoy judging? You already talked about the first glance test. So is design your preferred?
Well, designing is obviously one of the 3 elements, but this year I thought it was very interesting for the storytelling aspect. When you're judging these visualizations and looking at the topics, some topics lend themselves a little bit better to storytelling, and others are better for like a overview of a topic. So it was really interesting to see how people were able to create their point of view as opposed to going to the default Explorer on a game topic. And those that did it effectively and really designed their business well and put a lot of thought in that process really came out ahead, I believe.
Amazing. And finally, before we move on to the Americas qualifiers, how were you inspired by looking through these entries?
So as I mentioned before, the overall quality of the visualization. So I'm excited about the general direction of visualizations as a community as a whole. Gone are the days are those clunky dashboards with really horrible interaction and lacking accessibility. More people are understanding what to do with colors, understanding when to apply good interactive elements, as well as knowing when to apply space to visualizations. You know, people are bringing that back to work, and it's going to inspire a new generation of people to develop great visualizations. And I really think we're on the precipice of something that's huge as far as data visualization and its positive impact, not only to our community, but to general stakeholders as a whole.
I can't wait till we see more Iron Viz style dashboards in the business world as well. So it's not just a hobby, it can be more than that as well.
100%. And I'm sure they're bringing a bunch back to their stakeholders, some lessons learned when they're developing these visualizations. So they're going away from those clunky dashboards. They're creating something that people will actually want to look at.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining us today. And hopefully we'll see you at Tableau Conference next year as well. So next up, we're going to move on. Next up, we're going to move on to the Americas. So same as before, we're going to go through our top 4 and save our winner from the Americas till the very end. So stay tuned. So first up, we have Agatha Keterick with Nearly a Year of Wordle, a Family Adventure. Agatha's entry tracks her family's friendly competition playing Wordle. I love the storytelling in this one. And despite some in-depth analytics about Wordle stats, what really shone through for me was the camaraderie her family had around playing the game together. It was actually a really personal story, despite being a data-driven story. There was a heartwarming meet the players description, celebrating those one-word guesses among her family. And then, funnily enough, realizing that actually no one improved over the course of the year, despite what you might think, given their commitment to playing the game every day.
In 4th place in the Americas, we have Ascent, The Rise of Women in Rock Climbing by Nicole Klassen. Nicole's viz was rock solid. Her viz took a personal sport of hers and exposed it to the rest of us. My favorite aspect here is a very simple one, and it's the use of the climbing holds as markers for the sections of the viz to help kind of navigate through it. As someone who knows very little about rock climbing, other than the fact I don't have the upper body strength to do it, this viz fascinated me. Great storytelling throughout this one. Definitely one to check out.
Thanks, Mark. And make sure to check out the links that are being shared in the Zoom chat as well, so you can click through on each of the vizes. Don't miss out on that. Next up, for 3rd place from the Americas, we have Bo McCready with Fight in the Skies, a First World War aerial combat game. Bo's viz teaches us about a simple token-based game simulating World War I dogfights between planes. In this viz, I love the thoughtful details, from using custom screen prints for the background art to sharing a screen reader compatible version via containers and explaining, many of the design choices.
In 2nd place, we've got The Unofficial Beginner's Guide to the 2022 World Cup by Kim Tricker. Now, if you know nothing about the World Cup, this is the viz for you to start at. It's so much fun to play with the bracket in the center of the viz, getting the user involved fairly early. There's a lot of data analysis around the histories and most won and wins over time, and it's just presented so well. Some really thoughtful design went into this viz, and I really love it. So well done, Kim. All right, congratulations to our qualifiers in the Americas. Very impressive. We'll be announcing the top entry from the Americas at the end of the show, so do not go away. Now, before we get to our final region, EMEA, let's talk to our 2nd judge with us today, Alice McKnight. Alice, how are you?
I'm good, Mark. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. So this was your first time judging. What was your experience like looking through all the entries?
Well, this will be my 4th experience with Iron Viz, the first 3 as a viewer, as many of you have been. And this is my first year as a judge, and it definitely was, a treat seeing behind the curtain a bit about how the Iron Viz teams puts together like this event and really puts together a very thoughtful criteria about judging each one of the submissions. When I first opened up my collection of vizes, I just wanted to jump right in, open up those thumbnails and just go in, just, not as a judge with the judging hats on, but as, a viewer, as someone who is active in the community. I love seeing the work that people put into their vizes, and Iron Viz is just an opportunity for people to definitely show a love for a topic and their technical expertise.
So as you got into those vizzes, was there anything across them, like from your batch of vizzes, that you saw any kind of common themes or trends, like types of visuals or anything like that?
If I have to say, if there was a trend, it was also, I would say, the use of like unconventional chart types. I think a lot of people really wanted to, highlight their technical expertise and their creativity with going beyond, bars and lines and incorporating things like radio charts, bump charts, animations, things that will, enhance your engagement, but also balance the ability of the reader to really, understand your viz and understand the conclusions you're trying to make.
So among all of those unconventional charts, was there anything that like really impressed you, blew you away, or something you've never seen done in Tableau before?
I mean, I really like the use of animation in a couple of the vizzes that I've seen. I think animation is a very underutilized feature in Tableau, and when you see it done well, it catches your eye. I definitely in one of the vizzes, which I just saw, had a piece of animation in it that really, I was unfamiliar with the game, and it really brought me into the viz and made me want to learn more. So I'm happy to see it represented today.
Very cool. Now, was there anything that inspired you while you were looking through the entries? Anything you're gonna put in your bag of tricks?
Well, I stay inspired by anyone who puts themselves out for to receive feedback and be a part of this competition, especially from the people who are early Tableau users and from those who are seasoned and have been using the tool for years. I have several vizzes in my hidden folder on Tableau Public that are in various states of completion. So I'm definitely going to take some inspiration and take some of those tricks that I saw in my collection of vizzes and apply those to my work.
Awesome. Well, Alice, thank you for serving as a judge, and thank you for joining us today. Archana, let's get into EMEA.
EMEA, yeah, my region. So obviously a slight bias here. It's my favorite, obviously. So in 5th place, we have Natalie Richer with 12 facts about the Olympic Games. Natalie's viz is very timely, as I just entered the draw for Paris 2024 tickets earlier this week. So I was already keen to learn a little bit more about the Olympics. And with this viz, what I liked about it is even though each of the 12 facts are presented quite independently, there's some really nice visual touches to keep the story cohesive nonetheless. So color, of course, is an obvious one, but there's also a recurring Olympic flame style chart type that crops up in some of the vizzes. And then there are also some interactive elements where you can compare yourself to some Olympic athletes by entering your height and weight. So obviously I did this. Apparently I'm most similar to a diver from Kuwait, of all things. How about you, Mark?
So when I played with this, I actually have the body type of a boxer. Who knew?
Maybe you do have that upper body strength for the rock climbing. Just have to work on it.
Oh, time to hit the gym. All right. In 4th place, we've got Puzzle Hunts, Not Only in the Dark by Teresa Futakova. I hope I didn't slaughter that. My apologies if I did. Now, Puzzle Hunts, now this is yet another thing that I've learned from these Iron Viz entries. This sounds like so much fun, and this viz is a fantastic introduction to Puzzle Hunts. Great analysis here, kind of walking through the when, the where, the who, the what of this really cool activity. And there was even an included little puzzle for us to figure out as we went through the viz. Now, I got it fairly quickly. How many letters did it take you, Archana?
Same. I solved the puzzle on this one. Pretty proud of myself, as I didn't need to hover on any of the clue that Teresa gave us as well.
Excellent.
So in 3rd place for the EMEA region, we have Lorna Brown with Does the Geek Rating Mean Anything? Lorna's viz about Board Game Geek's geek rating, try and say that 3 times fast, is a lesson in 2 parts. One about the factors that influence a game's rating, such as how long it's been released for, or whether or not it's on people's want/win lists. But the second for me, I think, is how data viz can teach more complex statistical concepts. So the geek rating is a fun name for something that sounds quite boring. It's called Bayesian averaging. But Lorna's Viz does a great job of actually explaining why this ranking system or this rating system helps adjust less popular games from hitting those top ranks, and makes that frankly quite complex statistical concept a lot easier to comprehend, even for less technical users. So I like the double whammy with this one.
All right, in second place, we've got Johnny's Drop, the story of the 2003 Rugby World Cup final by Chris Westlake. Now, you know a viz is good at storytelling when you can feel the tension as you're kind of navigating through it. I legitimately kind of got goosebumps and the hair on the back of my neck was standing up as I was reading through this viz because I was not familiar with this story. Personally, I was really thankful for the legend for unpacking the game. Such a cool way to show the moments of the game. Great analysis around the players. I mean, truly chef's kiss on this one. This one got my juices flowing. So this one was just fantastic. So bravo. So that's our 12 honorable mentions. Congratulations to all the qualifiers from EMEA, from EMEA, from APAC, all impressive vizzes. Well done all around. But now is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time to announce the top entries from each region, which will make up our 2023 Iron Viz finalists. Are you ready to do the top three, Archana?
Yes, I am. But before we do, I have to give some terms and conditions. So remember, these top three are not going to be shown in any particular order. They were all chosen because they had the top score from their region. And the next stage, of course, as you all know, is competing live at Iron Viz 2023 at Tableau Conference. All right, enough rambling from the both of us, I think. Here we go. So our viz from Asia Pacific is Paul Ross with What's the Best Board Game to Try Next? So Paul grew up in a beach town called Newcastle, just outside Sydney, Australia, and currently lives on Queensland's beautiful Gold Coast. Paul was super impressed at how easy it was to showcase your data viz portfolio to potential employers on Tableau Public. But what really got him interested in Tableau was discovering the hashtag GamesNightViz on Twitter, co-created by none other than 2022's Iron Viz champ Will Sutton, which ultimately led him publishing his first viz in June of 2022. His Iron Viz entry was actually inspired by the first viz he published on Tableau Public, and he decided to revisit it and give it a makeover. So along the way, he discovered a quite simple metric that identifies a short list of games. And so sharing that discovery with the data fan became the destination of his Iron Viz journey. And might we add that this is his first time entering the competition. So congratulations to you, Paul. So let's get to the viz. I love that Paul revisited one of his early vizes. And when I say early, that was just 6 months ago in the grand scheme of things. I'm sure he would have been using Tableau for a lot longer, but taking something that you published publicly for the first time only 6 months ago is amazing. And you can see from that first viz, if you sort of stalk his Tableau Public profile, that he's always had strong analytical skills, but you can see the improvement in design and storytelling here with the visual elements. So I can't wait to see how much more he improves before the Iron Viz finals. I'm sure it's going to be a close competition. Mark, any thoughts?
So as a fan of board games, this one got me really excited as I started to collect more and more games. I love the snakes and ladders scene that slithers through this event or through this viz, and the dice in the sections. It's just a really nice design element. Add in the what's next section at the bottom, and you've got an Iron Viz finalist. Congrats, Paul. All right. Our second finalist from the EMEAs is Brittany Rosenau Spiel de Jaris. Now, Brittany is from the Midwest and currently lives in Traverse, Florida. also known as America's Seaplane City. She's been using Tableau for 3 years, and it was first introduced through an internal data champion program. Her viz was inspired by a realization that she needed to expand her family's board game options. She noticed some of the games she bought had won the same awards, so she dug into it, learned more about that competition and what the winners might have in common. With so many games out there, she wanted to highlight a list of quality options people could start with to form their own game nights. Now, this is another concept that I'd heard nothing about. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that I played with the games to try at the bottom for more time than I'd like to admit. Now, this viz is beautiful, including the hand-drawn sketches that she did. Killer viz all around. I am not surprised to see Brittany in the finals here. Archana, do you have any thoughts on this viz?
Yeah, exactly the same. I absolutely love the design here. It looks like something out of a Sunday magazine that you can sort of slowly flick through and sit with for a while, especially with those custom illustrations and the primary color scheme. It had a really sort of childhood reminiscent feeling about it as well. And yeah, just like you, Mark, I think I'm going to be coming back to this one when it's time for me to get some new board games in the future. So finally, it's our third finalist from the EMEA region, and we have Nirosh Pereira with his viz, The Greatest Game of All Time. Nirosh was born in North London, but when people ask where he's from, he says Sri Lanka, which is where his roots are, but also sounds much more exotic. Nirosh got introduced to Tableau 4 years ago at a reinsurance company. Since then, he's been dashboarding daily at work and occasionally in his free time. His viz was inspired by a who rather than a what. It was Nirosh's colleagues and a really exciting theme with games this year that pushed him to participate in Iron Viz for the first time and actually submit a viz. Game, set, and match for me with this one. The viz follows the story of the Wimbledon's men's final in 2008 between Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. And when we say story, we mean the whole thing, as Nirosh includes pre-game stats with what the bookies or betting companies were predicting. And while it's not like watching the actual match, of course, we do get pretty close with the animated moving plot for different points in the game. I've found myself doing that with the viz. Mark, what did you think of this one?
Well, one, I'm glad I'm not the only one who watched the ball go back and forth. But I love the layout of this one. Big numbers, check. Setup of the story, check. Effective visuals, check, check, check. And it's green and white. But all kidding aside, this viz was amazing, and it told a great story about a great tennis match. The heat map, density map of the court is probably my favorite aspect of this viz. Really well done. And these Iron Viz finals are going to be lit.
I can't wait. Congratulations to the top 15 entries, as well as everyone who participated. Remember, with Iron Viz, I knew it was going to happen. I was so close to getting through the entire call without making that mistake. Remember, with Iron Viz, win or learn, you never lose. There we go. She did it. And with that, make sure to tune in to watch the final showdown at Tableau Conference 2023. We will be planning to launch the official save the date announcement in early January, along with additional information about the conference. So stay tuned on our social channels for that.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you to our guest judges, Adam and Alice, for joining us. And thank you for sharing your insights, not only in the judging process, but today. We really appreciate it.
So for the rest of you, do tell us what you think on Twitter with the hashtag IronViz. And until we see you at Tableau Conference, farewell and happy vizzing. Thank you.